Matt, in Japan, you've just moved there to try to get access to your sons. How long ago were they taken to Japan by your ex?
They were taken on January the 26th, 2009.
And did you have any warning this might happen?
No, not at all. I mean, as far as I was concerned, my marriage was a normal marriage, and my wife at the time just wanted to go to Japan for a holiday. And I lived here for 10 years, so, I knew how she felt. You get homesick and you want to go back to your country, so that wasn't a problem. No, not a problem at all.
So you had no inkling at all? You don't think there was any signs?
No, not at all. I mean, looking back with 20/20 vision, the pieces fit together and you can think, well, yeah, that didn't seem right. But no, at the time I had complete trust in my wife.
So what happened? She took them over there for a holiday and just didn't come back?
Yeah, well, she took them there for a holiday and we maintained contact through telephone, and a few weeks later she just out of the blue told me that she wasn't coming back, and, that was it.
And what have you done to try to get the boys back? How old are they?
My oldest son is 11 and my youngest is 7. Well, I've done just about everything in Australia. I've exhausted just about every resource in Australia. I've made hundreds of telephone calls. I've written hundreds of letters. Unfortunately, the only thing the Australian government has said to me is get a court order and go through the Japanese legal system. But unfortunately, and I've been trying to tell the Australian government this, that court orders aren't recognised in Japan. And secondly, the Japanese legal system is a farce. No parent has ever won a court case against a Japanese parent. Not one child has ever been returned to its habitual residence. And in fact, when a Japanese parent dies, the Japanese court awards the child to the Japanese grandparents. So basically, foreign parents in Japan don't stand a chance.
How do you know that no one's ever got a child back? Have you done that research?
Oh, that's a fact. That's a fact. In 60 years, not one child. Japan is a black hole for international parental child abduction. It sanctions child abduction, and it's a fact that not one child has ever been returned from Japan. When I lived here, if I wanted to take my sons back for a holiday, I needed written permission from my wife. However, in Australia, the laws seem to be quite lapsed, and it's quite easy to remove a child from Australia.
So where are you up to now? Have you gone to the courts at all? No.
No, I avoid the Japanese courts like the plague. I mean, going through the Japanese courts would be like being an African American in 1930s Mississippi or Alabama, with the jurors being members of the Klan. The Japanese courts are extremely biased.
Duncan Holmes, you're a family lawyer. I just wonder what you think listening to that. I mean, that's a very extreme picture being painted of the Japanese legal system. Is it a fair picture?
I think it is. The trouble with Japan is that it really is, as your interviewee says, it's an island to itself. There are so many cultural issues surrounding issues of Japanese nationals wanting to return home, and there's a perception that often there's under-reporting of violence in relationships, and when they get home, they are given, the perception is that the nationals are given a really good treatment. And
so how difficult is it to get a child back if they've been taken to Japan?
Oh, well, it's just, it's almost impossible.
Because they're not signatories to the Hague Convention, but they've said they're going to sign, yes?
They've said they're going to sign, but as I understand it, we're still a long way off from Japan actually putting its signature on the page, and it will also be a question of what conditions they impose.
Matt, you and your parents have been to Japan a number of times and you're living there now. How often have you managed to see your kids since they were taken 3 years ago?
Well, I came here 4 times last year. I was successful in getting access to my children, but there are times where I have to risk being arrested or being called a stalker and actually go to the house and knock on the door. I mean, they're the extremes that a lot of left behind parents have to resort to in order to see their children.
Now, you turned up at the house in Japan where your kids are living 9 months ago, and you had a friend record what happened. Let's have a look at that footage.
Yeah.
ちょっとカメラやめてくださいよ。